incredible.
And
Very, very good. And
GG.
yeah, what a game. Congratulations to
Triathlon.
That's right, Triathlon. We've seen it played once already today. Really cool 3-player map. It's got cloaked for neutral arbiters cloaking neutral lurker eggs. So if you really want a lurker egg, you can of course mind control that as a Protoss player. If you want an arbiter with all the technology, well, you can mind control that one. It's really up to you.
Yep, and if one thing we do know, some players really do understand the power of technology, and I can't remember where that comes from, but that was really, really good. But this is a very good map for carriers, very good map for arbiters as well. And let's see how Kingdom is going to play this out in this PvT, and let's see how Gypsy is going to play this as well. This is a very good map. Not necessarily for like a 2-fact, because the Protoss can expand in that back, well-defended base, but we could see drop play from Gypsy as well. Let's not spend any more time trying to guess what they're going to be doing. Let's head on over to the game, and let's get started with our second game here between NaS and Media. Okay, just make sure I need to hide that, and there we go. Starting us off in the left-hand side as I quickly do the micro to make the game a little bit less laggy. It's going to be fighting for Media in the brown. It's going to be Gypsy, our Terran player.
Indeed it is. That is Gypsy, his opponent in the orange, playing for NaS's Protoss. This is Kingdom.
It is, and as we did mention before, Kingdom did put in a very good showing in round 1. He is going to look to replicate that success here, and he is going to look to bring NaS back on the table. They are currently 1-0 down, and let's see if he can do it. This is a very strong map for Protoss. Arguably, pretty Protoss favoured, I would say, in PvT. But of course, there's not been that many modern tournaments played on it, so should be interesting to see how this plays out here, especially between these two foreign Brood War players.
That is very true. While there are Korean players in the tournament, these two are non-Korean, so it'll be cool to see how they work out against each other. You know, Gypsy, kind of the newest member of Micromedia, as far as I am aware. I'm not totally sure about that, but it's been cool to watch. If you guys are a big fan of Artosis' stream, or I guess the rest of the media guys do also stream their games, you can watch some of their media practice times where Gypsy and the gang, all of who are boys who are old and in a club, do play against each other. That all happens on Artosis' channel. I think Machine also streams them, and Nyoka and Gypsy as well, so you can really get a really cool feel for the relative strength levels of a lot of the different players on Micromedia. You can get to know them that way. You can get to know them by watching them here in the STPL, and because it is their first time playing today, I actually didn't know what to expect, right? Because you know, these are all old school players who have played a long time ago and then have come back to playing.
So they have, and you know what? They have been putting in a lot of practice. I know that when initially I found out that Media were looking to play, I was kind of thinking, I'm not really sure that's going to happen. Like, I'll wait until it gets confirmed. And when it finally did, I was quite excited. It was really, I was quite excited even. It was exciting. An English person feeling English. We made the language. We get to do with it what we please. But basically, it was quite exciting seeing these players again. I know they've been putting a lot of practice. Artosis has been doing those practice streams a good few days a week now. So they're definitely looking to sort of bring back their power. They certainly have the star power, but do they have the game power in Media still? It looks like Future has a little bit of that spark left in him from back in the days of Brood War. And immediately Gypsy going for this neutral arbiter, so he can break his way through to those back base.
All right, so yeah, he is going to be going for that back expansion. That's why a lot of times you don't see a whole lot of super early aggressive builds, because it is so easy to take an expansion or that back expansion, and unless you want to do kind of some crazy glitch technology to get back there, it's by and large you're going to see games make it past just a single base. But ooh, nice snipe there. Last bullet out of the Marine's gun from Gypsy does take that Devil probe off the map, and that'll give him the advantage
indeed.
of being able to throw down a very fast command center here. Now, it's not like a 14cc or anything crazy like that because he does have tech up behind it, but it's a command center that Kingdom will not know about.
You know, interestingly enough, he's built the command center at his front natural. Obviously, when you do go for that back natural early on, it's a little bit harder to defend, especially if there's shuttles, Reavers, and DTs involved. But the problem Gypsy will have is his scouting SCV did reach Kingdom's base last. He sent it a little bit late, so it didn't get there before the Dragoon blocked the ramp, but it looks like a second SCV has been sent out here. Will this be able to get in and get the vital information that he needs? And it looks like it will. Really, really nicely done by Gypsy.
That is the Flash SCV. Just barely gets in somehow. And so this is going to see a lot of information. It's going to... oh, man, I wish the SCV had kept going and maybe seen that probe transfer through the Arbiter. Because still, you know, without scanning, maybe sometime in the future, he's not going to know about the back natural expansion for the Protoss player either. So both players are going for expos and shouldn't have, you know, any hyper-aggressive pushes coming out here in the near future, which does mean we get to see a longer game, and this is really what I was excited to see today.
Yep, so one thing that Gypsy did get to see, which is going to be a very big tell as to what Kingdom is doing, is when he got up to the base, he saw one gate with range. That often means there's two options off the back of that. They can either go for tech or they can go for an expansion. But the important thing that he did spot, I believe he saw the third pylon in the main, and he saw no other tech by 4 minutes. So he should know that there is a Nexus coming up. He can probably assume that it's going to be behind the lurker eggs. And we may see a starport, which is exactly what we see by Gypsy to try and counteract this.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not about what you see, it's about what you don't see, and that does give Gypsy the info that he does need. But the starport is really, really cool. So I'm excited to see what it or how it changes what would otherwise just be a very strong tank mine push. And I guess it's not a push unless it makes it past the halfway point. So going to be just helping escort this mine-laying vulture out across the map.
You know, interestingly enough, Kingdom didn't really push forward at all with his Dragoons. And if Gypsy had actually committed to this, Kingdom may have been in a lot of trouble, actually. If those tanks do manage to get next to the Protoss ramp with Siege, then they could be in a lot of trouble. Now, of course, Kingdom is going to find it a little bit harder to move across the map, but he did go for a very quick observatory behind this, so he should feel pretty good about moving out across the map very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the, let's see, how many observers does he have? It's just the one. Of course, it's not really in too much risk of getting sniped. There's no, like, Goliaths or anything crazy out there on the map right now. And it's only one factory right now. So this is not scary at all to the Protoss player.
You know, interestingly enough, Gypsy didn't finish killing the Arbiter there. So it's got full energy back. By energy, I mean shields. And he's going to spend a long time breaking through those lurker eggs. The lurker eggs have a lot of health, a lot of armor as well, so single marines do have trouble breaking through. But one thing I would just like to point out is Gypsy's map vision is absolutely incredible. He's used his mines incredibly well. He's loaded up that dropship, and that is going to go straight for the probes. But look at Kingdom. He's pulled the probes away immediately. I think he must have seen the dropship with his observer there.
Did he? Yeah, I guess he might have. Either way, this is just about the best defense that you can ask for. I mean, the observer's right there, and obviously you can't get your Dragoons up to that base, but you know, the drop does basically no damage. It killed a probe, and I guess denied a little bit of mining.
And there's going to be a shot coming up now. Gypsy back at home behind this, knowing that he's at least pinned his opponent back for now, is going to take that third command center. He's going to go for that in-base third as well. But he needs to be careful now because there is that shuttle that can counter-drop him. He needs to be careful, but nice probe snipe on the probe at the third base here outside the front. Really does get that in time. Really, really nicely done.
Yep, absolutely. So both players actually defending pretty well. I'm glad that the shuttle came out to get those Dragoons over there to allow mining to happen again. But we're going to see both players on 3 bases here pretty soon. A Terran on 2 base can just stay there for quite a while. But if you are able to take your forward natural, taking the back one's a little bit easier. And so this is just going to be a huge 3-base economy. And as a Protoss player, you never want to be even on bases, especially because you do want to be building a bunch of gateways and bases elsewhere, because you're inevitably just going to get a huge siege push coming your way. So we should see maybe a little bit of pressure on Kingdom, not just to get mining back up at all of his bases back at home, but also to kind of think about pushing out for another base here in just a minute once he figures out whether he's going to die here in the near future from a crazy early push.
Yeah, now the one interesting thing I did see is we do have a Wraith coming in for Gypsy here, so he's going to make use of that star pool to build this Wraith. It's going to be a little bit harder for the Shoal to just come in and completely wreck his day. As you saw, he is killing those eggs as well, making his way through to his 3rd base. One thing I did point out before as well, we can't quite see it yet. We can actually see that on the Protoss base, but it is a lower gas amount, so it's not a full gas. I believe it's 2,000 instead of 2,500. Yep, that is correct. Or instead of 5,000 as well. The main natural is that 5,000 gas. So, and you do have those 1,000 gas bases in the middle. It looks like both of them playing this map pretty well. I can imagine that both of them actually had a little practice on here. They're not being overly aggressive. They're not doing anything crazy. We did see Gypsy go for another drop again, but does get denied by those Dragoons in the 2nd base.
Man, as long as Gypsy, or as long as Kingdom can keep denying these drops, I think he'll actually be in a really good spot, because there hasn't been that huge tank push out there on the map. They're all just staying back at home defending this natural. So, I mean, neither player is really being too effective with drops, and losing that observer kind of hurts over the Terran base. Still a little bit in the dark there.
And also, Gypsy did lose his dropship as well. 2 of those 3 very cleverly placed Dragoons there, so Kingdom's going to be feeling pretty good now.
This is really cool placement for a lot of things. So Dragoons to snipe the dropship, the mine placement out on the map that's really going to kind of tell everything. Is it looks like Kingdom is going to be the player to push out on the map first. After taking that dropship out, he's feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder for Gypsy to actually try and put any form of aggression on for at least a little while. His factory count is only now going up to 6. He wants to be adding up to 9 as well off of the back of these 3 bases. But Kingdom is in a very good position. He's got a lot of gateways. Actually, he has 6. Going up to 7, 8, and 9. You always do want more gateways than the Terran has factories. But Gypsy has unfortunately been losing quite a lot of units just to Dragoons. Really nicely really nice usage of Kingdom's units. You can see he has little groups of units just sort of spread out, completely defending absolutely everything.
Now, Gypsy is a little bit, or Kingdom's a little bit behind on upgrade. There's +1 mech weapons to no upgrades for the Protoss player, but Protoss is going to hit 1-1 before Gypsy hits its next round of upgrades, so there will be a window for that advantage there. 4th Command Center, I believe, did I see that on the way? No, it was a science facility that was building. So just 3 CCs for now, but 4th Nexus should be coming up here maybe in the near future when these Lurker Eggs and Arbiter, if they get taken out, you can push up to that 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and just to answer Jayon in the chat, and also for the benefit of anyone watching via the VODs, I did mention this before on the previous cast on this map, but you can actually mind control the Arbiters, the neutral ones here, the blue ones, and it does give you every single Arbiter upgrade, so energy, stasis, and recall. You don't have to research them, you can just get them immediately by just mind controlling. Not sure if we will see that coming in from Kingdom here, as it looks like he's quite happy just to stay on gateway tech at the moment, but is he going to stay on this too long? This is the question that I have.
Where are the Zealots? Okay, so there's a few Zealots down with the army in the middle of the map, but I don't know, this big force of Dragoons up top is always a little bit scary. Anytime Dragoons go out without Zealots, it's like tanks going out without Vultures. You always want to see 2 different kinds of units. Always 2 different kinds of units there are, to quote Yoda.
Yeah, my bad. They don't give energy the R200. I miscounted, but I fairly certainly give recall and stasis because that was why Protoss were so strong on this map. Like, this was the Protoss map for a while. It wasn't really used in too many tournaments, but I was happy to bring it back here. It's one of my favourite maps to play on. And as we've seen so far, we've had some pretty interesting games. We see Kingdom taking a 5th base at the other natural. And of course, as you know, Rapid, this is a 3-player map. And if you take the other main, you get a huge gas advantage as we go to later in the game.
Yeah, I think Gypsy might actually be, I don't want to say squandering his lead, because a maxed out Mech Terran is a maxed out Mech Terran. At some point, all you need to do is get there and you're Gucci, and he is approaching it. Now, Protoss, I believe, should be able to max out far before the Terran player, especially if he is going Mech. But, you know, at what cost, right? Their units are just not going to be as good.
Yeah,
so
and this
is our first big engagement.
And this could be a very decisive one. Kingdom coming in from both angles, doing a lot of damage. The Zealots connecting with those tanks, and Gypsy with the late siege could be losing a lot of units here.
But this tank line is just so deep. This is like the movie The Notebook. It's just the most profound push you've seen in a long time. The Zealots do eventually evaporate, but that is a lot of tanks to take out. Gypsy was up at almost max. He was like 180, and now he's down to 140, 150. So a lot of damage done, but it's about how quickly you can re-macro all those Zealots back out to support your Dragoons.
Yeah, and it looks like he's doing a pretty good job. There's a big train of Zealots leaving his main base at the moment. We see a shuttle here as well. That's going to allow him to do a little bit more of a little bit of a cheeky action of bombing on top of the tanks for the Zealots. There's very little anti-air here with this Terran army. And currently there's still no science vessels. But did we actually see any tech? Yes, we do.
There's one science vessel. Yeah, so there's one science vessel with the army that'll be able to take out that observer. But crucially, the observer is not actually as important because there's no minefields anywhere. There just are 0 mines out on the map, which may be a testament to Kingdom's ability to limit those minefields early. But I think it's just Gypsy not placing a whole lot of them. Like, there's a couple up towards the north, but there's none in between the army, and that's, oh man, it's just so important to have. I mean, maybe it limits your ability to mine drag into this big tank clump, but with a shuttle bulldogging Zealots right on top of it, I mean, that could just be equally as effective.
Yeah, but this is such a good engagement for Gypsy. He was sieged and all of the Dragoons going down almost immediately, and Gypsy doing such a good job there.
Yeah, that's a little bit tragic. I mean, I thought I was looking to see which Arbiter upgrades he was having, but unfortunately he did not have stasis. That could have been the best stasis I have ever seen in Brood War.
But here we go.
Unfortunately, instead it was not.
That is a big stasis, so there's a lot of Zealots moving up, but is there going to be enough? There's so many Protoss units here now. And unfortunately, the shuttle looks like it's going to go down to the Goliath as well, unless it gets away. And this early 4th base looks like it's going to be taken down.
Yeah, unfortunately, even with a bunch of gateways powering up, I believe that it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 gates. How quickly can you build a bunch of Dragoons out of there? Dragoons and Zealots, I guess. The answer is not quickly enough to save this 3rd base down here. Now, or 4th base, rather. I mean, there's a 5th up top, and so that's cool, but there's no probes mining at it. So for the time being, this will just be a very strong, devastating Terran push out on the map.
Yeah, the big thing is here that Kingdom does have those extra bases. You said he can't realistically get any probes over to the mine. And slowly but surely, Gypsy is crawling his way through ever so carefully towards the main ramp of Kingdom. And if he gets there, this could be an unassailable position, but we do have the power of recall that could be used here to pull Gypsy back. But just looking at his base, he's got fairly decent recall defense.
I'm watching to see if there is enough for an EMP on these Arbiters. It looks like one EMP goes off, but it doesn't actually catch either Arbiter's energy. So they're both building up, but they don't have enough energy for stasis just yet, I believe. And running all of those Dragoons up without a lot of Zealots is just a recipe for disaster, or just a whole lot of blueberry goo.
Yep, and that is certainly a lot of goo. This is so many Dragoons. They have 2-2 upgrades, but the power of the 2-1 Terran Mech Force. And just look how many tanks that Gypsy has left over. This is the true story of this game. Gypsy did an incredible job building his tank count, keeping his tank count alive. and he is just moving his way to victory right now. Kingdom is in such dire straits and should have waited for stasis energy when I was maxed. GG! And Gypsy takes Media to a very surprising, almost, a very, very interesting 2-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, Gypsy doing quite a bit of work, not only to putting his team up 2-0, but perhaps taking a lot of the pressure off of In Control, who plays fourth in their team lineup for today. So
yeah,
Kingdom actually had did a great job setting up that game. He kind of crossed his T's and dotted his I's and lowercase J's, but ultimately, like he said at the end, he didn't wait for stasis energy. His first few arbiters were just totally ineffective. He ran out there and everything died. And I was actually really happy that Kingdom was able to limit the tank count so much early on, but you could really see Gypsy sort of flex his big macro Terran muscles, which is, of course, the only way you're allowed to play Terran on macro media. And did a really good job at pushing across the map with 2-1 mech, killing Protoss, which is perhaps what Terrans do best.
Yep, I mean,